Welcome in to Two Guys, One Pod, Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Rick Porter, joined by my co-hosts, plural. We have Addison from League Champ joining us like he has in the past. And then obviously we have Justin joining us as well to co-host as he is the co-founder of this podcast. Guys, how are we doing today?
Well, it's a
never
great
better.
day. Yeah, it's a great day to know some ball. Addy, tell them how you're doing, and then I'll go into my spiel.
Well, I'm in the beautiful town of Tiffin, Ohio, so could not be better. There is nothing I'd rather do other than talk about football right now. Anything to get off the myriad of dead grass I saw driving up here.
Dear Lord. All right, so just one being in the state of Ohio. Sorry, I apologize. I don't. Should I? I mean, I feel empathy that you have to be in the state of Ohio. As a legendary ball knower, though, you're close to some really, really good football, maybe potentially. At least, like you could say, like maybe you can go, like maybe you can drive past the high school and see some guys out there and get us some really great scouting for campus to Canton. And let me know if you see any future 4 or 5 star prospects. Maybe you see a future Kaleb Johnson just hanging out there, just being 215, 220 pounds and not running as fast as you think he should. Oh, sorry. I did the thing again. Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. I'm here. I'm prepared. We had some underwear Olympics that I am anxious to get into pants. I mean, I'm anxious to. Hey, Rick, start talking so I can stop talking.
Okay, yeah, we're going to have some winners and losers who we perceive to be winners or losers from the combine that just ended on Sunday. We have each prepared 2 winners, 2 losers, and we'll get into the honorable mentions in both at the end if time will allow. So, Addison, why don't you go ahead and kick us off and give us your number 1 winner from the 2025 NFL Combine?
Yeah. I'm gonna start with Bhayshul Tuten. Anyone that runs 4.32 is worth paying attention to in the Underwear Olympics. The second that you do that, you get yourself into the class of a lot of interesting running backs. I'm gonna spin a little yarn here. In 2024, we had 2 guys get around 4.32. Isaac Guerendo, Jalen Wright. 2023, Devon Achane, Gibbs, and Keaton Mitchell. 2022, Pierre Strong, Isaiah Pacheco. The thing you'll realize with all of those players is they're guys that we weren't even talking about, aside from Gibbs and Achane, obviously, before the combine. And the second that they put up that low 4.3 number, they got themselves on the draft board of a lot of contending teams. And that's what you want to see from that late round running back. You want them to have that opportunity to get a bigger workload. And I think he gave himself that chance, which definitely wasn't on my bingo card before the combine.
Agreed. Justin, what do you think about Bhayshul Tuten?
We watched that Virginia Tech Miami game together. We had like a 60-yard touchdown run. I was like, oh, he looked fast. And I just kind of filed that away in the back of my mind. And then on Player Profiler News, my co-host went down to Mobile and got to interview Bhayshul Tuten. And he said that, I think, I talked to him a little bit off camera. Yeah, I think he thinks that he's going to run a really fast 40. And I was like, man, what's like really fast? Like 4.3. He's like, no, he thinks he can run 4.2. I was like, yeah, okay. And I just kind of brushed it off. And then you find out that at the Senior Bowl, he's having, he was working through an injury, a foot injury, I believe, and he wasn't going to be full speed until now. So him actually getting close to running a 4.2 just kind of blows my mind, especially at 206 pounds. So he's definitely going to climb up people's draft boards. Whether or not that is correct, that remains to be seen. But he's definitely a guy that's made me have to say, all right, cool, I need to go back and see what I was missing. I think that's kind of where a lot of people are going to land with Bhayshul Tuten.
Yeah,
Who
it's
is
definitely
your
not tooting his own
first?
horn.
Say it again.
It's definitely not tooting his own horn. Go on.
I was about to say, you said Tutton, and my first thought was, no. If he actually becomes a thing, he will be known as Tootin on this show. Like, we are not the most classy bunch here. But we can move on. Justin, who is your winner from the Combine?
Yeah, I have a type, and the type is big physical receivers that win contested catch situations. And so I went into the combine with my eyes keenly peeled for one Jayden Higgins, and he did not disappoint. Comes in at 6'4", 214 pounds of twisted steel and contested catch appeal, brother. And then he goes out and he has a 39-inch vertical. He runs a 4.47 40. Now I've said several times, I just wanted him to run like anything below a 4.6 was going to be fantastic. Just if I got anything below a 4.6, I would be thrilled for him and Trey Harris. And he comes out and he runs 4.47. All of my priors were confirmed, and now I believe he solidified himself as a top 50 pick in the NFL draft.
I agree. All right. I got nothing to say to that. Addison, any response?
No, I'm a huge Jayden Higgins stand. I agree entirely. I don't got to toot JC's horn.
All right. My biggest winner from the draft was Matthew Golden. If you watched him play at Texas, you knew he was fast, but rightly or wrongly, the fastest guy at the combine is remembered by people. Like it is a memorable, testable skill or achievement, I guess, at the Underwear Olympics that probably weighs a little too heavily in scouts and ownership and franchises' minds. Running a 4.29 as the fastest man, it's a big deal, and in my opinion, it pushed him even if not above Emeka Egbuka in my mind. I liked his production profile was lacking as far as a first round receiver goes, but he produced the most on the biggest stages. So I think he's going to get a pass for that, given how he performed at the combine, even outside the 40.
Yeah,
So, where do you have him slot in here? Like, where do you think he's going in the first round? Because I've heard people saying he might go even over Tet.
Yeah, Tet's been falling in the ones I've seen. I think he opened around wide receiver 10, and last I saw, I think Jeremiah had him at 16. Is that right, Justin?
in the latest Daniel Jeremiah mock draft, Het fell to 19 to the Buccaneers, 18 or 19 to the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I had Golden going in 18 to 25, still between Tet and Emeka or Amika, however you say his first name.
Yeah, that's going to be a precipitous climb. This is almost like Ruggs going ahead of Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb in the
Yep.
2020 draft. And I could 100% see that happen. I don't know that it's correct. I love Matthew Golden. He's personally my wide receiver 6, but I don't know that I would take him over some of the other guys in the draft, even if, he runs 4.29. Just real football. Like, we got to go back to real football at some point. So I don't know that I would like to see him be the first receiver drafted, because often means that the landing spot is a little bit less than ideal. There are some spots in that top 12 to 15 that could be a great fit, but the days of Matthew Golden being a value or kind of a sleeper a sleeper in drafts are absolutely out the door, especially with him being the first receiver off the board talk.
Yeah, whenever I said that he was a big draft winner, I don't necessarily mean for fantasy. I'm talking about like for the man and for the purposes of the NFL draft. I'm with you, Justin, that I don't I don't I don't think he's going to be either the most productive rookie. I don't have him in my top 5, and actually no, he is 5 for me. Excuse me. But just for the performance at the combine purely and how it affects his stock at the draft is what I was speaking to. And I think that he helped himself out by maybe I don't know, what, 10 to 12 spots?
Easily,
Bare
if not
minimum.
more.
Yeah. 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 I mean, Daniel Jeremiah, I think, mocked him to the Steelers or the Rams in that first mock draft where he said, I think Matthew Golden's going in the first round. So I would say that he's probably in the front end of the first round with like potential non-playoff teams with that performance.
Addison, why don't you give us your second winner from the draft, or from the combine, excuse me.
Yeah. By the way, that just screams Tutu Atwell to me. But speaking of big
Lord,
guys
have
that
mercy.
run fast, yeah, we're talking about Elic Ayomanor. Like, we're talking about a 6'2" guy that put up a 4.44, a 38.5-foot vert, a 127 vertical. All that athleticism you saw on film the whole time, it came out at the combine, and I could not be happier. Like, I know we're talking largely about who made the most money for themselves during the draft, but this guy's going to make you some money for fantasy too. Like, we were confident to Anquan Bolden, and I really feel that he might have that sort of ceiling in him. I could see him sneaking into early day too.
I like it. Justin, who's your
Yeah.
second winner?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the catching Canuck. So yeah, we can get down with that. So my biggest winner is a guy that I've been pretty pilled up for since 2023, and he goes out and he shows me that he has a level of athleticism that I believed was possible, but I thought even this he exceeded my expectations here. I'm going with Quinshon Judkins, 5'11", 221 pounds, goes into the combine, puts up a 4.48 40. I was going to be happy with anything lower than a 4.6. I comped him to David Montgomery, but he's clearly, from an athletic perspective, a little bit more explosive. 39.5-inch vertical, or excuse me, 39-inch vertical, 11-foot broad jump, 9.95 RAS score. That's significant. And I think that now, for me, he's firmly cemented himself as the RB3 in this class.
Interesting. So he jumped. Did he solidify himself, or did he jump? He jumped
No,
Caleb for you, did he not?
I have had him. So there was this nebulous kind of. He's been my RB3, and Devin Neal has been my RB4. And I started tinkering. I started doing a tinker stinker the other day, and I moved Caleb to the RB3, and then I moved Quinshon to the RB5, and then I never had peace about it. Now he is back in his rightful place, and Travion is my RB6.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. That's that. So Travion runs a 4.37 is what it was?
4.43.
You're at a 4.3, and he fell to you.
4.43.
I thought he got in the 4.3s. Okay, but 4.43, and he fell.
He was either 5 or 6, so he moved one spot. But I can't. I'm not gonna move Caleb out. I'm not gonna disrespect Caleb by moving him because of athletic testing. But I am gonna move Quinshon Judkins up because he confirmed some stuff that I saw on film. Now, Caleb did not confirm some of the stuff I saw on film, so I have to move him down. But Travion also did not fully confirm what I wanted to see from him on film, which was sub 4.4. Yeah, you work out the word.
A lot of confirmation, not non-confirmation happening here.
Yeah, a lot of known knowns and known
nitpicking
unknowns.
there.
And you got the known knowns of the known unknown, and so you see, you have to just stay fluid, my friends.
They say the only thing more inaccurate than college scouting is high school scouting, so we can move forward. My second winner from the combine was Cam Ward. Even though he chose not to participate at all, they said he killed his interviews, and they go into his own. I think he went into the combine with his only competition for being the first quarterback drafted as Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders also did not do any of the physical testing. So, like, at bare minimum, you're locked ahead of that person. We saw it kind of happen with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors last year. It was just, hey, it doesn't matter how well you interview, how you go into this combine, how you're viewed beforehand is going to be a lot of how you're viewed afterwards. If you don't just totally, bomb your interviews. So I thought Cam Ward solidified himself as QB1 and made himself a whole lot of money in doing so.
Yeah, I don't really.
I'm happy to hear that for Cam.
What was that, Addison?
I'm happy for Cam. Good for him, because when Jackson Dart gets picked as the first QB in this draft, it's going to be really, really fun to watch that guy have a Zach Wilson sort of career.
Oh.
Coming in hot.
Are you saying that you think that Jackson Dart is going to be taken as a top 5 quarterback? Or are you baiting?
I'm baiting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Everyone associated with the program knows how much that I hate Jackson Dart. And it's not because I actually don't think he's a good player. It's because this is the Zach Wilson paradox all over again. Football stops happening, and then all of a sudden there's like, well, if you go back and look at in my model, he rushed for over 600 yards, and that makes him one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the history of the model. And it had Trevor Lawrence number 1. It's like, okay, bro, cool. You had Trevor Lawrence number 1. You said your model said Deshaun Watson was good. It also can be wrong. So whatever led you,
but he threw the ball hard.
Yeah, you're right. He threw the ball hard. Good for him. Anyway, I'm glad that you picked Cam Ward as a winner. He's been my QB1 since about midseason. I think we were about to record one night, and we were watching Miami play, and I was like, I really like this guy. Like, it just seems like you can't rush him. You can't speed him up. You can't make it like he's playing at his own pace regardless. And I feel like for quarterbacks, that's a superpower, because once a guy gets hit, everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth. So yeah, I love the fact that Cam Ward's a winner for you. F Jackson Dart.
All right, Justin, you want to give us your first loser?
Nick Nash. Nick Nash.
My boy. Look how they massacred my boy.
So like I was a little trepidatious about Nick Nash because he was such a prolific college receiver, playing out in San Jose, playing out in the WAC or whatever it's called now. And I needed him to test very well, because we were going to have all the knocks on him. He's a 6th-year senior. He moved to receiver 2 years ago and dominated against future pulpit salesmen out there. And comes out, he runs a 4.57, 1.54 split, 10-yard split, which isn't bad, but I didn't see, he had to wow people in order to get he had to wow people athletically in order to get some serious draft capital. And this might be one of the guys that you keep an eye on because he was so productive at the collegiate level. But I wanted to see him come out and kind of dominate some of the drills, or at least give us kind of an idea of the way that he was able to accomplish his statistical profile. And I walked away kind of not really knowing what he was going to offer as an athlete or as an asset to a passing game.
A historical theme that seems to be followed by most franchises is you draft early declares, you draft seniors with massive production, and you never for any circumstances draft 5th-year or 6th-year seniors, which we're just now seeing 6th-year seniors being, not just now, but it's very rare. But I think the drafting of Xavier Legette gave gave Nick Nash a chance, gave him a shot at being looked at in a real light outside of the 4th, 5th round. And I agree with you. He needed to show out something physically, and he just didn't. Addison, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, like, he is going to be so good at running a 9 route to get like Cooper Kupp or some other quality receiver open.
He's gonna be running. He's gonna be a track star. Just out there
It's
running
just running
sprints.
cardio, pure cardio.
Hey, that 4-7, the cornerback stays with him the whole time. Feels good about his day. It's a 10-yard gain for the offense, but everyone's feeling good afterwards. So that's something.
He's a real vibes guy. He's out there for everybody to have a good
Yeah.
time.
Oh,
He's
that
got a
is
Addison,
fun
who's
name.
your first?
So,
Who's your first loser of the combine, Addison?
this one hurts me personally because I'm such a big Fannin guy. I was playing some college football on the old PS5 this weekend, and oh my gosh, Fannin might be one of the most fun players to play as. He makes that entire Bowling Green offense almost workable, but a 4.71 is really rough to come back from because you're talking about a guy who could have been looking at a day one starter sort of position. And now I feel like he's going to come in. He's going to be one of those athletic freaks that, like, you put into an offense and you're waiting and waiting and hoping that they'll produce at some point in time. And you're going to need to wait if you have him on a dynasty squad, which is kind of the most painful part for Fannin. Like, we're going to see all those, like, one catch games where he gets 60 yards and a touchdown, and it's going to be like, yeah, next game he'll get 30 snaps.
I got to
Justin,
push
you got
back on this one. Yeah, I got something.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah. You know me. I love Harold Fannin Jr. And
Talk it
yes,
down.
this 40 was disappointing, but his 10-yard split was really good for a tight end at 156. He comes out and he has the second fastest three-cone time at 6.97. And I think that we should buy the dip. I mean, this is still one of the most prolific tight ends. I go back to what he did against elite competition. He had 100 yards and a touchdown against Texas A&M. He had 100 yards, 130 yards and a touchdown against Penn State. So against elite competition, he showed out. And that safety, the safety that was covering him against Penn State is going to be probably a day 2 pick. So it's kind of hard for me to just turn everything off in terms of my feelings about Harold Fannin Jr. Yes, I'm a little disappointed about the 40, but if you watched him if you watch him in drills and stuff, you know that this guy is not a guy that's gonna wow you with just how smooth it looks or whatever. But then you get him out on a football field and he's uncoverable at just about every level of the field. So I will not stand for any more Harold Fannin Jr. slander. I am buying the discount. I would like for that to be on record as of today, right now, in the year of our Lord 2025. I am still buying the discount on Harold Fannin.
Alrighty then. Okay. Again, I wanted to reiterate that when I say somebody's a loser from the combine, it doesn't mean I like them any less. It just means I think that their value has gone down in the league's eyes and it'll reflect in draft capital. I think Kaleb Johnson was a loser from the combine this weekend. He tested slow at 4.57. If you watched him, he doesn't look like he has long speed. So I wasn't expecting him to come out and run like low 4.4s or anything like that. But I think he needed like 4.5 flat to stay at his current projected capital. And when I see guys like that, I say, okay, you either have to be one of two things. You have to be either super powerful or you have to be super shifty. And he didn't run any of the agility drills for running backs. So if you're going to run slow and you're not going to show your agility, like we don't know if it was you or if it was your offensive line opening up 12-foot gaps for you to run through. So I am still very high on Kaleb Johnson. I am willing to buy a dip, but I think that he's going to be hurt because of the combine.
Definitely going to be hurt because of the combine. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as the resident Kaleb Johnson hater on this podcast, I will give the caveat for Kaleb Johnson that I've never seen anyone look less comfortable in the track stance. Like he did not look ready to run that.
Justin has trained guys at a high level athletically, and he will iterate and reiterate that the 40 is as much a skill as it is athleticism. Like you can be good at running the 40, you can be bad at running the 40 and have nothing to do with your athleticism. Is that right or wrong, Justin?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it weirds me out that he didn't, here's the thing. Kaleb Johnson put on film just a crazy breakaway, like over 15% breakaway run percentage, runs at 25 and 50 yards. He was absolutely dominant in 2024 in terms of his breakaway run percentage. So I came in thinking that he was going to test a little bit faster than what people are giving him credit for. I mean, this is a guy who topped 22 miles an hour on the GPS in 2023 and 2024 at 225 pounds. So I was keyed up to see him at least like break 4.5 or be around 4.5, 4.51, 4.5 flat, anything around there. I would have been absolutely thrilled with. And then he goes out and he gives us a 4.57 and like a 4.62 if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that was a little disappointing for me, but again, I go back to the film. I've been tasked with, scouting him. So I got a bunch of all of his games from 2024, which was like 8, and consistently he's hitting the home run. And it's not because they've got a bunch of people maulers at the University of Iowa. I mean, he did it against Ohio State, not as long of a run, but he breaks a tackle in the hole and scores. So it's really disappointing to see something that I thought I was going to confirm and it being the opposite. But that's just, that's the nature of the beast. He's just not going to be, he's not going to get great capital. I think that he's going to move from where he's at in our ADP at 110, probably maybe the mid-second, and I'll be okay with that.
Mid-second? You think he's going to fall that far in rookie drafts?
Depending on how far he falls in the rookie draft, in the NFL draft, yeah. He's at 110 right now.
Care more about 40 than anyone else. Like that's really the populace that cares. Rookie drafters care more about 40 time than anyone else in the NFL.
That's a solid point. I think anything in the second round for me is just an auto select for Kaleb Johnson. Honestly, I would be willing to take him right now at his ADP at 110. I think he's like the durability of Blake Corum, but the sliders are up on the athleticism side. But the combine did not help him. Addison, you want to give us your second loser from the combine? a pick I also agree with.
Yeah, we're talking about running backs that hurt their draft stock by doing athletic testing here, and Ollie Gordon is a very good example of that. I really wanted to confirm some priors that I thought I saw a bit more on film from Ollie Gordon, and he clocked in okay on film, but ending up with a 4.61 at the 40 isn't really great. It doesn't set you apart at all, and when you're working with a draft class that is this deep, I think he may have dropped himself from a mid 4th round pick to probably well into the 5th or 6th, maybe even to 7th. And that's going to hurt him when he ends up on an NFL roster, and he might get cut. He might bounce around. I'm a little bit worried about the guy long term because this is kind of a pattern of subpar play, subpar athleticism ever since he was decreed as the best running back in the country a year back. We haven't really seen it.
Justin, I'll go ahead. I'll tee it up, and then you can hit the home run. Justin and I have talked about Ollie Gordon quite a bit, and my argument that I was saying to Justin whenever we're having this conversation was I'm a big Arkansas fan. So we watched the Arkansas game against Oklahoma State, and Ollie Gordon was held to 3 yards, it was 3 yards for the first 3 quarters of the game. And then I think he finishes the game with 64 yards on the score. Justin can correct me later if he wants to.
39.
39. And did he not score as well?
He did score, yeah.
Yeah, so, but it was on the back of 17 or 18 carries. Super inefficient. He didn't look good. An Arkansas defense that ended up getting lit up by every rushing attack in the country. So whenever I saw that, I knew Ollie Gordon was very highly ranked coming in, and I immediately downgraded him to my RB 8 to 9. So this was very confirmation bias for me, but then Justin let me know some previous information, so go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, this is about it, bro. I'm done. I I can't continue to hold on to him being the 2023 Doak Walker Award winner and all of the positive things that I saw. I mean, something's going on. I mean, I hope that he gets it back together. I mean, this is just he looked good in the Senior Bowl. He comes in a little bit heavier at 233. I'm almost certain that Doak Walker season he was playing in the 210s in the 210s. So I at this point, man, I don't really know. I don't know what to make of him. I've got to move him down my rankings. There's some guys that I was really impressed with that are going to make me go back to the film that were more impressive than Ollie Gordon as a whole. Now, to be fair, his 2024 season was kind of dampened by the offensive line. 2023, they create 4 yards before contact, before Ollie. That number dipped down to 1.8 yards per carry before contact in 2024. So that's a pretty significant drop off. But it still doesn't justify the different. It looks like two different players, and they were one of the worst teams in the country. So I can't continue to do this, especially with a class that's as deep as it is.
So, all right, hold on. This made me think of a player, but I can't remember his name. Who was the guy that was Bijan Robinson's year? He either got injured.
Roshan.
He was like the what?
Oh, I thought you were going Roshan, but go on.
No, it wasn't at Texas, but he was the number 1 high school running back at class. He ended up getting drafted by the Rams in like the 6th.
Oh, Zach Evans.
Zach Evans. Yeah, this is screaming Zach Evans to me.
That's a great comp.
Yeah. I was talking about Zach Evans last night on a different podcast. He was a 5-star recruit, number 1 recruit in the country. Had everything at his fingertips, and then it just never really materialized. 5-star guys get almost preferential treatment when it comes to the NFL. And he got drafted by the Rams in the 6th round and then just got cut almost immediately. So, yeah, I hope that that's not the path that we're headed down with Ollie Gordon. However, it would not surprise me in the least if it were.
All right,
Casey,
Justin, you want to give us? Sorry.
I was going to say, Justin, you're going to tell us about Dalton Schultz here, right?
Oh, my goodness. My goodness. Way to tee it up. Way to tee it up, boys. Way to tee it
Old
up.
and slow,
Now,
let's go.
yeah, we got, instead of old and slow, we've got young and even slower. So we've got Gunnar Helm. I pegged this guy as a guy to watch going into. I pegged this guy as crazy. I pegged him as a guy
wild.
to watch.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I was gonna let
Crazy.
you go. Whoa!
It happened in real time. So yeah, this was a guy I had on my list to watch in going into the combine, and the athleticism is just not there. Now, he did send a picture to Ian Rappaport about him busting his ankle after a false start in the 40. I don't know that it would have been that much better in the first place. You never thought of him as just this athletic freak. You never put him in the mind of Jatavian Sanders when you were talking about Gunnar Helm. So this was a guy I compared to, collegiate Jason Witten, where he just found a way to find himself between the defender and the quarterback, and he caught the ball. And I think he just cost himself an inordinate, exorbitant amount of money with his performance at the combine.
Like, just by running the 40, you think he cost himself money?
Yes. I mean, yes, unequivocally. I mean, 4.93 those are defensive tackle times, man.
Wasn't there an offensive lineman to run like 4.9 flat?
Yeah, there was an offensive lineman that ran 4.91. There was an offensive lineman that ran 4.84. Jared Wilson out of Georgia. Armand Membu runs 4.91. And then Tate Rutledge, the mulleted mauler from Georgia, runs a 4.97. Will Campbell runs a 4.98. Ariante Ursery ran a 5.01. This is the company that you're in, that you're grouped in with your 40 time. Ariante Ursery is 6'6" and 336 pounds, guys. So that's the type of company that you're in now. So I mean, congratulations, Gunnar Helm. I hope that your ankle gets well soon, and that you run a faster 40 at your pro day. Because you're almost certainly going to have to run this again for people to take you seriously as an athlete.
Yeah, no pushback from me. I don't think we have to discuss Gunnar Helm. But
No.
Addison,
Not a single thing to say about Gunnar Helm. You're talking about Texas. Go on.
yes, I was Isiah Bond. This is purely an optics play. I actually like Isiah Bond as a receiver. He slots into, I think, wide receiver 8 for me. Maybe 8 or 9. I have to go back and look at my rankings. But he makes this big deal. This is purely optics. Again, this does not have nothing to do with my opinion of the player. That has not changed. But I think the optics around Isiah Bond has changed. You say you're going to compete with Xavier Worthy of the 40. The first thing you run is a 4.4, and then you finish with a 4.39. I think Isiah Bond may have cost himself about a half a round.
Yeah, no, full agree. I don't have any pushback. I was really disappointed. I knew in my heart of hearts, I absolutely knew that there was zero chance that he was going to run a 4.21. I never thought that he was that fast. At the University of Alabama or the University of Texas. So I was like, okay, sure, yeah. Oh, you're gonna run 4.19. You sure, buddy? Like, if you're gonna run 4.19, that's gonna show up in some way, shape, or form in your play at some point. Like Worthy, you could see, oh, this guy's unreal fast. He is unreal fast. This is crazy. He might do something crazy at the combine. His line I still remember it last year. His line for the 40 was 4.28. So he comes out 4.25 the first time, 4.21 the second time. The rest is history. So I'm a big believer in under promising and over delivering. Obviously, that is not the case with certain players. So, for him.
Addison, you got anything?
I mean, I think the biggest story is really comparing, contrasting Golden versus Bond in this, because I think
yes, that's where I was going next.
That Bond, yeah, you go off on it because I know you got opinions on this, but like, I gotta say, it's wild to put up a 4.4, and it's also wild that he thought he could put that up after averaging like what do you have, like 15.9 yards per catch, like. When you're in a collegiate program, you can see it show up, and you see it in the numbers. I didn't even see it there.
Yeah, I mean, that was all I was going to say was, like, you say you're the fastest guy at the combine, and you're not even the fastest guy on your own team. He was at 15.9 per reception, but the usage just isn't there for someone who should, if he was that good to command that kind of capital, he would have demanded more targets, is what I was thinking about Isiah Bond. But with that, we have gone through two.
Hold on.
Oh,
wait a minute.
You need one?
1 second.
Are you missing one?
Yeah, I want to throw a couple things out there because so I don't know what happened, but somehow or another, I'm looking at the 10-yard. I'm on relative athletic score, RAS.football, and I'm looking at the scores for Isiah Bond and Matthew Golden here, and obviously we know 4.29 versus 4.39. The 20-yard split, Isiah Bond wins. The 10-yard split, Matthew Golden wins 1.5 to 1.53. I think NFL Network has Golden at 1.49, the fastest out of all the wide receivers. But I thought that was very interesting because, I mean, the guy clearly he hit 23 miles an hour. So to go to your point about the optics play, it looks terrible because you overpromised and underdelivered, but there's something here as far as speed goes.
That's awesome. I didn't look at the 10-yard split for Isiah Bond. That's
10-yard
really
and 20-yard. Yeah, the 20-yard.
Because he said he lost the 10-yard, but he won the 20-yard. So he has a little bit better long speed, but not as much acceleration.
Right. I'm basically what I'm saying, guys, is we got to go back and look at something, figure some things out, because this is him running a 4.39 is kind of it's blowing my mind a little bit that these are really impressive starts and stuff. And like maybe I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to point that out because those are really impressive numbers.
Do you think that this could be a case of a guy just being bad at the 40?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could like his top end, his ability to hold top end acceleration might be terrible. That's kind of what I gather. Like he gets the top speed really fast. Like he's at top speed at 20 yards and then he just can't maintain it. I'm trying to piece this together in my head because I was fully expecting Matthew Golden's numbers to be far superior.
All that athleticism, and Quinn Ewers still can't pull off a 4th-round draft capital. That's crazy.
All right.
All right, Addison, why don't you go ahead and kick off our honorable mention winners since we have a little bit of time at the end of the episode.
All right. Well, you mentioned Cam Ward. I'm gonna mention another Cam that didn't run a 40 and go with Cam Skattebo.
I love that so much. Loved it.
Yeah, like he puts up an incredible vertical jump, and it's crazy to see a guy that big jump that high. I think he ended up with a 39 there, but he wasn't gonna compete in the 40 no matter what. He was gonna put up an Ollie Gordon-esque time, and the fact that he didn't just leaves it all up for imagination. It lets every GM be like, well, maybe this guy wouldn't be a fullback for us, and that's awesome for him.
Justin?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I was just hoping against hope that he could turn in, he could give us a 4.6. You get a 4.6. There's running backs that run 4.6 that are effective in the league. I believe Najee Harris ran a 4.6. Granted, he's 240 pounds, but he does give us good explosive metrics. I believe it was 10.4 in the broad jump and 39.5 in the vertical. So yeah, I'm good with that. My honorable mention is Jalen Noel, the other Iowa State receiver who I have fallen in love with, and he goes out and just absolutely dominates. They both started with the Senior Bowl and then come into the combine. He runs 4.39. He hits a top speed of 23 miles an hour, 9.61 RAS score, 1.51 10-yard split. So that was faster than Isiah Bond, 41.5-inch vertical, and 11-foot 2-inch broad jump. So that is one of the guys that I feel like made a lot of money, and he's talked with the Titans. He talked with the Titans at the Senior Bowl, and I believe we interviewed him as well at the Combine.
My honorable mention is Terrance Ferguson. I mean, as tight end prospects go, we target obviously the most highly touted guys, and then we want athletic freaks. He out jumped Trey McBride by 6 inches in the vertical, 5 inches in the broad. He was the fastest tight end this year at 4.63 in the 40. And I mean, it's good. It was great this year, but like just to put that in perspective, Kyle Pitts ran a 4.44. But also, Kyle Pitts has been Kyle Pitts for the last 2 years, so maybe the 40 is not the most important thing. So like, it was good to see the athleticism. And if I'm going to take if I've got multiple 4th-round picks, I think that he's worth a 4th.
Absolutely. I mean, so honestly, I think that athletically you could comp him to David Njoku.
I didn't know how David Njoku's vertical compared.
I think, well, I mean, 39 is going to be really good for a tight end, no matter who the tight end is. But I mean, David Njoku was in the mid-30s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, he
and he
like
ran
I said, if I'm going to take a stab on a tight end pick, it's going to be somebody who's big, strong, fast. And Ferguson was big, strong, fast in the at the combine this year.
Just like
you guys buried the lead on him.
Do what?
You buried the lead on Ferguson.
What's that?
Possibly the best mustache in college football.
Ooh. And he's
known
it's a
by
ginger stash.
Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that.
I just moved him up my ranks.
All right, we have with this episode we have given winners and losers from the draft combine. Thank you all very much for listening, liking, downloading, subscribing, rating, reviewing, all that fun stuff. We are on socials as 2guys1pod FF on Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok. On the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, we are Brick316 and Chev90. Addison, would you like to drop your socials?
Yeah, of course. I am Addison, Nard Dog on Fantasy Sports Advice Network. I am Duck League Champ on Instagram and Twitter. And I am League.Champ on TikTok.
Here we go. Y'all have a good night.